Anthony, what is Saudi Arabia actually doing to get those price cuts?
Good morning. Yeah, well, what they're doing is OPEC agreed last month on a plan to cut oil production with the hopes that that will reduce the oversupply that's in the market, and that's brought the prices down so much over the last 2 years. That's already had an impact of pushing prices up in the market and taking those investors who would go short out of the market. They don't want to take a risk that come November 30th, which is when OPEC meets next to kind of put the final touches on this plan, that they're left with short bets, and OPEC does implement that cut and prices rise further. What Saudi Arabia was also doing yesterday, and what they've been doing over the last couple of weeks, is trying to get other producers that are not in OPEC, namely Russia, getting them on board also to reduce production as well. The Russians haven't said yet whether they will make a cut or whether they'll freeze. Russia's producing at record high levels, post-Soviet records. So a freeze from them wouldn't really take enough oil out of the market to have much of an impact. So it still really needs to be seen how much OPEC is going to take off the market, and whether Russia or other non-OPEC countries are going to join in that effort to try to reduce the oversupply that's there.
Anthony, Iraq may be throwing a wrench in the works, you could say, as they seem to be refusing to play ball on cuts, saying they're busy fighting ISIS, so they need all the revenue they can get. How is that going to complicate talks on oil output cuts?
Well, everybody's got to kind of pull their weight here in cutting, because that's one of the main issues that OPEC has, is that they want all the members to take part here. Already, they've given some exemptions to some countries. They've said, Iran is coming back from sanctions, and that should be taken into account. Libya and Nigeria are both suffering from violence, basically a civil war or insurgent violence in the case of Nigeria, and that's cut production and exports there. Now, Iraq is saying, as you said, we're fighting ISIS. This is a big issue. We need all that oil income coming in. We're also rebuilding after years of strife, so we shouldn't have to cut. Iraq said yesterday they're at 4.7 million barrels, in fact, in excess of that now, and they won't come back from that level. So they're saying that they're not going to cut. And what's more, they're also disputing some of the OPEC figures that the group will use to set a baseline for cuts, to set the baseline going forward for where they want production to be. So really on two fronts, Iraq is throwing that wrench in the works by, one, saying, we're not going to play ball on the cuts, and two, we don't even agree with you in terms of your estimates on the level of what we're producing. So these are some real issues that OPEC's got to work out over the next month or so before they do get to that meeting November 30th in Vienna to decide how to implement this plan to really bring production down.